Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you guys how to install a tube in a tubeless tire. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So today's subject is going to be this snowblower that I bought. It's going to be in the next upcoming few videos. So so in today's video we're going to install this tube in that tire, and I'm also going to show you guys how to fix a inner tube that leaks or just a tire that leaks in general. So, and I have to install the tube because the tire has came off of the rim or the bead and I can't get it back on the bead. So anyway, let's get right into this here. So the first thing we're going to do is tip the snowblower up on its end like this to make sure, or to make it easier to work on. And when you do this, if there's gas in it, make sure that you drain it out or have it pretty low. And I wouldn't worry about the oil because it's just not going to leak out. Just make sure the cap is nice and tight. We're going to remove the wheel and take it inside the workshop and work on in there, and the vise, because the vise you can clamp the wheel in there and it'll just hold it a lot tighter and make it easier for us to get the tire off of the rim. So to take the tire off the machine, and for once in my life the snowblower wheels aren't rust down to the axle, so what we're going to do is pull the little pin out here, pull it out like that, and then this just slips off like that. And in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace these bushings because they wear out pretty fast, and I'll show you guys what they look like here. Actually, we'll save it for the next video, never mind. So without further ado, let's go into the workshop and take off one side of this tire. Okay, so now I have the tire in the vise and it's locked in there, and this is going to be a lot easier to get it off of the rim with the pry bar. So I'm going to go around here with the pry bar and a screwdriver and work myself around and pop it off of here. As I said, it can be pretty difficult because these tires are thick, have a thick edge, so it's hard to get it off of the rim. So, yeah, I'm going to keep working at this, and if I find any more tips or tricks, I will definitely share them with you guys. Okay, so I've got a tip and trick for you guys. So I have a big pry bar that I've wedged under the tire, and now I'm going to stick the screwdriver down the center and just go around the screwdriver like this and go like that with the pry bar, and this gets the tire off the rim. Look at that. Works pretty good. So now what we're going to do is remove the tools, and we're going to remove the old valve stem. So for the valve stem, I'm just going to pull it out with these pliers. Can be a little tricky, or I'm going to cut it off actually, one sec. So I've got a knife, and I'm just going to cut it off down here like this, and then I'm just going to pull out the little extra piece that's inside. So take that out of the way, and then it just falls out like that. So now what we're going to do is get our new inner tube, and we're going to, so you want to lift the tire up like this and kind of squeeze the inner tube into the tire, like in this part over here, because this is where the most of the room is. So, and then at the end, it's easier, I find, to line up the valve stem. So just work yourself around, work around in a circle, like I'm doing here. And remember to pull the tire out like this. And if you want, you could wear gloves, but I find it's a little bit more difficult because there's not a lot of room to work in here. So just be careful with your fingers, don't like hurt them or anything. And yeah, lining up the valve stem is a little tricky, but it's not that bad. And then make sure the inner tube is around the whole rim. And this also may seem like I'm doing this for the first time. So yeah. Now for the valve stem, I'm going to take off the little cap, set them off to the side. And I'm going to go from the bottom and pull it with my fingers and push one from the top and trying to line it up in the hole, and then push it like this and then pull it out. And when you do this, make sure that you pull the valve stem all the way out, because if it's not out all the way, or if it's not out enough, it can be sometimes tricky to get the tire inflator on the little stem here. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. And now we're ready to install the tire back onto the rim. But before we do that, we're gonna make sure, we're gonna look all the way around here to make sure that the inner tube is fully inside the tire. And you're gonna wanna push from the bottom as well to make sure that it's all the way in here. So I'll show you guys what that also looks like. So if so make sure the inner tube isn't around this part here, and we're going to make sure the inner tube is inside there, because we don't want to get it pinched in here when we use the pry bars and things to push the tire back onto the rim, because then you've done all this work for nothing. Trust me, don't ask me how I know that. Yeah, so make sure the inner tube is fully in this part of the tire, not out here. So make sure that it's fully in the tire. And yeah, now we're going to use the pry bars and install the tire back. Okay guys, so I've just consulted YouTube, and big shout out to DonnieBoy73, whose video I watched. And anyway, so go subscribe to him. You should check him out. He's kind of where I learned all my stuff. Anyway, so he suggested that you use vice grips, put it on the rim to hold the tire in place, and then get a screwdriver and push down here and go around the edge like this, nice and slow, and wedge the tire on like that. So awesome tip. It's working so far, so I thought I'd finish it up with you guys on the camera. So yeah, and make sure, like I mentioned earlier, don't stick the screwdriver in too far, because you'll puncture the tube, and you don't want to do that. So stick it in maybe 1/4 of an inch, if that. Like, it doesn't need much, guys, so be careful. And yeah, this is working great. So man, that guy's awesome. Makes it a lot easier. And make sure you keep pulling this out as you're doing this. So yeah, this part can be a bit tricky because it's tight, but there you go. And now she's on, and we'll take it outside where the air compressor is and air it up. And now just take your vice grips off like that, and there we go. Let's go put some air in this baby. All right, so we're gonna put about 20 psi of air in this thing, and then put it back on the snowblower, and I'll show you guys how to fix the other one. And there we go. Keep airing it up. Air, 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 air. We're not even at 20 psi yet, look. Gotta keep going. There we go. That's nice and aired up. Now we're gonna put the little cap on here, and then put it back on the snowblower. So let's go do that. Sweet. Okay, so before I put the tire back on the rim, I'm gonna get this wire brush here and wire brush some of the rust off of the axle. And don't mind the smoke in the background, it's just my little campfire I got going there. Had to clean up the fire pit today. So anyway, let's wire brush this. So to clean the shaft, I'm gonna use a wire brush and just brush this like this, all the way around. Oh, and I just realized while I'm doing this, I probably should replace, like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna replace these bushings in here, but I'm gonna put the wheels back on for now, just so it's easy, I can move it around. So now what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of this grease on this axle so the wheel doesn't get stuck. If you want, you could use anti-seize as well, but I don't have any, so nice coat like this with your finger will work perfectly. So yeah, there we go. Make sure you get most of the way around. You don't have to get all the way around, but that's good. Now we can put our tire back on, and then put the little pin. I don't know where I put it. Anyway, and next we're gonna put the pin in the little hole that holds on the tire. And there we go. So that's the first way on how to fix the tire. Now I'm gonna go over the second way on how to fix a leaking snowblower tire. As it turns out, I had two on hand from a previous project. I think it was last year's snowblower. I'll put the link in the cards, so make sure you go watch that series. And I have two here because that side also needs one, which we'll get to in a minute. So now we're gonna line the tire up on here, and I don't know if you can tell, one sec, my hands are really disgusting. Give me a second here. So I don't know if you can tell, but in the axle, there are 2 holes. There's one back there and one out here. And this wheel, I'm going to choose to put the pin through the wheel and the axle, but on the other side, I'm going to put the pin only through the axle, because only putting it through the axle will make it easier to turn, and I'll demonstrate that now. So when the pin is only through the axle, the wheel can spin, and the other wheel, if you have it locked, can drive. And if you take the pin out and put it through the axle and the wheel, then it can become a drive wheel. So if you really wanted to, you could have 2 drive wheels. But I prefer to have 1 drive wheel and 1 steering wheel, or yeah, turning wheel, just to make things a lot easier to maneuver. And I don't need both hands for this. Anyway, so yeah. And I just found the old pin, and yeah, you can see how much better the new one is than the old one, so that's garbage. So like I said, I like to have 1 steering and 1 drive wheel, so for now I made this one just the drive wheel, but I don't know, it's fine. Now let's go over to the other side, and I'll show you guys how to fix a inner tube that leaks. Oh, this other fix will also work for tires that don't have tubes in them as well, so yeah. So just like the other side, the first step is going to be removing the tire from the axle. Yeah, so we're going to remove the tire from the axle like this. Just pull it off like that. Actually, no, I don't have to. Never mind. Leave it on here. Leave it on the axle. Sorry. The first step is going to be removing the valve stem core that's in the center right there. And the reason we have to remove the valve stem core is because we're going to be using a product called slime to fix the tires. So I like this stuff. I find that it works really great. So basically what it is, it's a sealant. So you pump it in the tire, air it up, replace the valve stem center, and then put it back together. And what this does is it seals up any little holes or cracks or imperfections and really stops it from leaking. So let's get on that. We're gonna take this off of here, and I will take this off of here just to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. So we're gonna go like that, put in a little bin of goodies. And next we're going to get our special tool. Now the tire slime does come with a tool, but I don't like to use it because it's plastic and it gets clogged with the slime pretty quick. So you're going to need the end that looks like this, and basically put it in here, unscrew the little center, and all the air is going to come out. So I'm going to turn this off. All right, you guys, so we've done the first step to the tire slime process, and that is, or tire sealant, I suppose you would say. And that was removing the middle of the little valve stem. And we're gonna pull this out to make sure that we can work on it and air it up nice and easily. So you wanna pull it out a decent amount like that. And next what you're gonna do is, oh, there's the tool that comes with the tire slime, is you're gonna wanna get the little hose here, and you're gonna wanna stick this over the little valve stem thing. And you're gonna wanna, or the little valve stem, and you're going to want to hold it with your finger to make sure the hose doesn't come off of there. And then it says in the back how many pumps, but I usually, for a lawn tractor tire, it says to do 8 pumps. And this is almost that size, but a little smaller, so I'm going to choose to do 6. So I'm going to hold this together and then pump this 6 times. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Next, we're going to take off the tube. Some may leak out, but that's fine. And next we're going to get our new Schrader valve insert. Stick it in here like that. And then with your little tool here, you're going to want to tighten it up. So there we go, and we're going to hold this with our finger just to keep it out. Tighten it nice and snug. Don't strip it out because, yep, you're not going to want to do that. And I'm going to pull this out even more. I think it can come out more. And now I'm going to get the air compressor and we're going to air it up. And again, we're going to do 20 psi. So I'm going to hold these 2 with my finger just to get it on here. And then I'm going to pull the valve stem out as I'm airing it up, because this ensures that it won't get sucked back in. And it already leaks because I'm not holding on enough. I'm gonna get a different air hose thing, one sec. Okay, so we got the air hose attachment. I'm going to hold this with my finger and air it up slowly. Might take a minute. It might take a minute to air it up, but yeah. It's also a little tricky to hold these when they're loose. There we go. Just airing it up, I think. Come on. I think I have to air up the air compressor. One sec. All right, try this again. I aired up the air compressor, so. Jesus. I'm gonna have to let some air out because this thing is getting all messed up. So I'm gonna take my tool and I'm gonna use the spiky end and let some of the air out of here. Or I guess we can just loosen the thing. Yeah. No, press a little bit. Okay, I'm going to hold the valve stem with my finger and air it up while holding it. Some pliers would be nice, but whatever. There we go. There she goes. She's taking air good now. And that's probably way overfilled, so we'll let some air out of there because I'm too lazy to get the gauge. But it's supposed to be about 20 psi. And if we're blowing snow, I like it a little bit less because then the tire can squish down more and get a better contour to the ground. That's almost there. That's good enough right there. And now we're going to add the little cap back on. And while the air compressor was airing up, I lubricated the axle shaft. So now we're going to reinstall the tire onto the axle shaft. Alright you guys, so that was 2 ways on how to fix tires that leak. So a quick recap of what we did. So first, we installed an inner tube. I'll show you guys how to do that. That's one way to fix a tire. And then the second way was we used a tire sealant. Now, you don't have to get slime. That's just a product I recommend because it works really great. I like it. And it's relatively cheap when it's on sale. I got that, for instance, I got that 4-liter bottle for about 30 bucks at Canadian Tire, which isn't bad because it's usually 60 bucks. Anyway, that's just the sealant I use. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And hey, if you think I earned it, maybe even consider subscribing, because when you guys subscribe, that really motivates me to keep making content and keep those comments coming. I read all of them. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, guys.